is all mine.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Town Council meeting today, February 13th, 2017. I'd like to ask everybody to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you and welcome. Dale, could we have the roll call?
Council President Healy.
Here.
Council Vice President Collins.
Here.
Councilman DeCruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Gledhill.
Here.
Councilman.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Item number 4, can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from previous meetings, the work sessions of January 5th, 11th, 23rd, and 30th of 2017?
Motion. There's more.
The regular sessions, January 23rd and February 1st, and C, the closed executive session of February 1st, 2017.
Motion to approve items 4A, B, and C as presented. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. To move on now to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Moving on to item number 6A, a resolution granting a victualling license to Nextdoor Inc., DBA The Pub of Matunic Beach Road, application by Kevin Finnegan, President. Anybody here to speak on behalf of that application?
Hello, Madam President, council members. My name is James Callahan. I'm actually here representing Tara's Tipperary Tavern, but Mr. Finnegan is here for Nextdoor Inc. We have a victualling license application and a liquor license transfer, which is item 7 on your
Correct.
agenda. So we're asking those both considered at the same time, if that's possible.
We can hear those both at the same time. I don't think that's going to present any problem. No. If you want to hold it off until we get to the public hearing, that's fine.
So you want to do it in a different manner, it's fine with us.
I would be happy making a motion to approve this because I can't see why we wouldn't, and then handling the public hearing separately. That's all right.
Second.
Yeah, I make a motion we approve item 6A.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, moving on to 6B, a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct of the State of Rhode Island event in South Kingstown on August 6th of 2017 to Manuka Sports Event Management, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of a certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured for the event in the amount specified by the finance director, and approval by the town's Traffic and Transportation Review Committee and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Juliana Barberi is presented the application. Is anybody here to speak about this event?
I make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting.
Maybe we can wait just to see if they show up.
Until later in this meeting, in case they show.
Sure. We can do that. I make a motion, I amend that to continue it to later in the meeting. We can check and see if someone comes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6C, a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Beat the Chill, Climb the Hill 5 days on April 8th, 2017 at 11 o'clock at Monsignor Clark School, Tow Hill Road, subject again to the execution of the hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of the certificate of insurance naming the town as the additional insured for the event in the amount specified by the finance director and approved by the town's Transportation and Traffic Review. Is anybody here? John Finnegan presented the application. Is anybody here to speak on this? Please state your name for the record.
Sandra Evangelista.
Ann Murphy.
So our plan is to have the road race. It's just a renewal. We've had it for, this will be our 6th year. And I don't know what else we need to say.
What is, so what does it benefit? I guess this one.
It benefits our technology department for new Chromebooks for our school. We're trying to get one per student. I think they just recently purchased 30 new ones, and we want to increase that each year by 30 new additional ones.
Can you refresh my memory? Is this the race that just crosses into SK for like, tiny little portion?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
We do still hire 2 police officers for the 4-hour detail. We're in South Kingston for less than a half a mile. And then we have 2 Narragansett officers for the other.
Oh, wow.
Very secure.
It's a 5K? Is that
Yes.
How can people sign up if they want to?
You could go to the school website, or you could also do it on active.com.
Great.
Right. If you go to Monsignor Clark website, there will be applications there for applicants.
Wonderful.
This is actually, from what I have seen in the past, because this is year number 5 here for me, a very nice event, very successful, a lot of participation, and it's very well maintained.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gone well each year.
motion to approve agenda item 6C?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item 6D, moving on, a resolution granting another miscellaneous permit to conduct a portion of the 30th Annual Narrow River Road Race in South Kingstown on Saturday, May 20th, 2017, at 10 a.m. to Narrow River Preservation Association, subject to the execution again of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town and issuance of a certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured for the event, and the amounts specified by the finance director and approval by the town's traffic review committee and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Is Allison Cates here to speak about this event?
Can I pass these
I'm Allison Cates. I'm the program coordinator for Narrow River Preservation Association and a resident of Peacedale.
What can you tell us
Thanks,
about the
Richard.
race?
Sure. That we have a 10K run, a 5K walk, and a 5K run. And it's a race that the 5K starts at Treaty Rock Park in South Kingstown and ends up in Narragansett Town Beach. The 10K starts at Town Beach, goes up to Treaty Rock, and comes back again. So we're in Narragansett and South Kingstown. And this is our 30th year running it.
30?
30th?
Yeah,
30th
this is
year.
in-
Yeah, 30th year.
Wonderful.
And this happens to be my 46th year with Narrow River, and we want to thank the town for working with us and working things out and moving ahead.
How does someone sign up?
We also have registration through active.com, and that's, you can get there through our website. We also have we'll have online papers that people can print and then send in with a check. We also take some race day registrations in person the day of the race.
Thank you.
Motion to approve item 6D.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Tonight must be the road race night, because moving on to E, a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct a portion of the Ocean State Road Race in South Kingstown on Sunday, October 29th, 2017, at 7:30 a.m., road race to Road Race Events, Inc., subject to, again, the execution indemnifying the town, issuance of a certificate of insurance, naming the town as the additional insured for the event, amounts again to be specified by the finance director. Upon approval as well from the Traffic and Transportation Review and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Is Karen Zions or somebody here from? Okay, please come up to the podium.
Hello.
Aye.
So this will be our third year for the race here. We just run down Middlebridge Road. It's a 2.5 miles of a 26.2 marathon. And we have details in place. We usually utilize 2 officers at the corner of Middlebridge and Bridgetown, and 1 officer at the bottom of Torrey Hill on Middlebridge as well.
What's the rest of the race route?
We start at Narragansett Town Beach. It's a marathon, half marathon, and 5K. So we start at Narragansett Town Beach, run up Boston Neck, through North Kingstown, back down Bridgetown Road, onto Middlebridge, and then back onto Boston Neck, and then back to the beach.
How are the proceeds that you receive from this event utilized?
We donate to some charitable groups. I've reached out to the Welcome House. They have a financial fundraising meeting on Thursday evening, so they're going to get back to me and let me know if it's something that they want to participate in. I've also reached out to the Johnny Cake Center, but haven't heard back from them. And South Kingstown High School, Narragansett High School, North Kingstown High School. So we donate in exchange for volunteers. We donate to their groups, whether it's sports groups or music groups or any kinds of groups that they want to get a hold of. And we've had a great response from Prout High School as well.
Good.
Motion to approve agenda item 6E.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Moving on to item number 7A. This will be a public hearing relative to an application for a transfer of license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown according to the general laws of 1956. This is a transfer of a Class B victular liquor license from the Tipperary Tavern, Tara's Mulroy Joyce Family Pub by Francis O'Brien, Wakefield, to Next Door Inc., DBA The Pub by Kevin Finnegan, President, 9078 Matunic Beach Road, Wakefield, for the ground floor and outdoor deck in accordance with a special use permit granted by the Zoning Board of Review on November 3rd, 2004. Said transfer is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the State of Rhode Island, Division of Taxation, ordinances and regulations, and the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees in arrears to the town, the correction of any fire code violations, and all satisfactions of any other claims. Dale, did you have?
Yes, we have a couple of communications from Gregory Mancini, whose clients are Horizon Beverage and Rhode Island Distributors. There was a communication dated January 6th opposing this transfer due to indebtedness, and then it was released in another communication dated February 13th, 2017, today, releasing the opposition to that for Horizon Beverage and Rhode Island Distributing. There was also another one from Denise Silver of McLaughlin and Moran objecting to this due to indebtedness, and that has not been released yet.
Hello again, Madam President. James Callahan, Callahan & Callahan, 3 Brown Street, Wickford. With me is Fran O'Brien, principal of Tipperary Tavern, LLC. We're asking that this license be transferred contingent on a couple of items. The Horizon Beverage matter has been resolved. Mm-hmm. The McLaughlin Moran has not yet, but it was only because they were closed today because of the storm, but it didn't happen, so I think we'll have that resolved by tomorrow. It's already been paid, except to just need a confirmation at the clerk's office. Additionally, we need to secure a letter of good standing from the Division of Taxation. That should be done within the next few days. All the items have been delivered to the Division of Taxation for that purpose. The closing is on Wednesday, and I expect all this to be resolved within the next couple of days. So if you can issue the transfer or request the either contingent or conditional upon those items, we'd be happy to comply with that. And Mr. Finnegan is here, obviously, and Mr. O'Brien as well, if any questions about those issues.
Will any of the operation be different, and if so, how?
I think you'd have to ask Mr. Finnegan.
I didn't catch that last one. Sorry.
Any of the operation, will it be a similar operation to what's there now?
Irish pub since 1938. Yep, same, similar, evolve it like the Joyce family did a little bit, and Tara and Fran, same direction.
Great.
Do you have a name picked out for the,
Say that again?
you have a specific name?
The pub. Yeah, it was good, it's an Irish pub, but it's the pub. Yeah, everybody calls it the pub, and especially the transfer uses Kavanaugh's or Joyce's or the Joyce, but it's like we're going to the pub, so.
It's going to be the Finnegan's Pub now?
Nope, just the pub. Just the pub.
I remember when Kavanaugh's was there. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody want to come up from the audience for further comment?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved.
I'll make a motion that we approve contingent,
First, we have to go to 13A, right?
I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, you already made a
This is
motion.
just a transfer.
You
Okay.
made that motion. You're okay.
Sorry.
I make a motion that we approve item 7A contingent upon a letter of good standing from the Division of Taxation for the State of Rhode Island and a release from McLaughlin and Moran. Sure. I'll do that again. I'll make a motion that we approve item 7A in accordance with the verbiage, or is it the class? Oh, sorry. Said transfer is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees in arrears to the town, the correction of any fire code violations, and the satisfaction of all claims.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to B. This is a public hearing relative to an application for a license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown in accordance with the general laws of 1956, as amended as follows. A Class T legitimate theater liquor license. An application for a Class T theater liquor license by the Pump House Music Works, 1464 Kingstown Road in Wakefield, by Daniel Collins, Director of Presentation Gallery and Hand Tool Work Room, according with a special use permit granted December 21st, 2016 by the Zoning Board of Review. Again, said license is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation in compliance with all town ordinances and regulations and the correction of any fire code violations. Anybody here to speak tonight?
Council President Healy, I have one communication.
Please.
Communication dated February 12, 2017 to the Town Council from Stephen H. Burke, and he is endorsing the issuance of this license.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Cynthia Gifford. I'm an attorney and represent Pump House, as well as being the treasurer of the board. And with me is Daniel Collins and Ariel Bodman, who are partners in the Shady Lee Guitars and directors for Pump House Music Works. Just by way of a little background, and as you addressed, we did apply for and receive a special exception from the zoning board, who granted us a special use tea license with alcohol. And that process involved our submitting a lot of information about what we were doing and what was happening at the Pump House. Basically, the zoning board reviewed our parking and from a parking plan and the capacity of the building, and looked at any physical changes that would be made, which are really very minimal because basically, of course, Pump House was a restaurant and had many of the amenities that we needed, a sign, lighting, and none of this has been changed or will be changed. Improvements were made to the Pump House in terms of adding a handicapped accessible bathroom, and of course, because the new use that partners with Pump House is a guitar-making school. The kitchen was removed, and there's a machine room and 2 rooms, what used to be the old bar and what used to be the old dining room are proposed to be an entertainment venue. And in fact, since December, when Pump House opened, there have been 9 activities already that have taken place and we think been very successful there. There are actually 19 more that are booked for the next 2 months. And just to give you a little bit of the flavor of some of it, I mean, we're partnering now with the music department there. Their jazz band, which has 17 members, is going to have a jazz night the last Friday of every month. So that's going to be part of the Java Jam program. That's actually a program that has live music every Friday night. A whole variety of musicians and artists are performing. We're also partnering with local businesses. We have an event coming up with the art store in town, South County Art, for a drink and draw event, assuming we can drink. We'll wait for the vote. And just a number of all sorts of really exciting events. So we're seeking from you a license. In conclusion, the zoning board did not recommend any actual restrictions on the license in terms of how many events or which days. And we don't really know when these events are going to be. Most of them will be on the weekends because the school is using the facility every weekday, pretty much from 1 to 9 at night. And so that really leaves Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So that's where entertainment or other art and activities will happen. There was some discussion of a closing time, and there was no decision made. They had talked about either midnight or 1 o'clock, and saying that 1 o'clock would have been what it used to be at the Pump House. So, I mean, we would throw 1 o'clock out there, but I think every event we've had so far has actually closed at 11 or 12. So anything that sounds reasonable, really. So in any license, to help us sustain this program, really being able to sell beer and wine, alcoholic beverages will really be a great assistance in being able to really afford to do what we're doing and to expand and even have better programming. So that's why we're here. We ask for your help with this. And if you have any questions, the experts are right here.
I had just one comment about your hours. I know that in the winter there's that farmer's market in the mill across the street, so I would hope that there was some coordination in making sure it's hard enough to park there when you want to go to the market. I can't imagine if you guys had a show the same time or anything.
Right. Yeah, I think they end their farmer's market at 2 o'clock, so we wouldn't be having events during that time.
Okay. Great. That's wonderful. And then it was nice to, as Dale mentioned, we got a letter of support from someone nearby that just it's a glowing recommendation. We don't always get those with these licenses, so that was really nice to see.
Any other further discussion? Anybody else from the public would like to speak? Please just state your name at the podium.
I didn't know that these folks would be up for license today, but I just wanted to say several members of my family went there Friday night this past week because my granddaughter is the drummer in the Matt Fraser band, and we call it Rhiannon's band, but the whole event was so nice, and what a wonderful addition to the so-called nightlife of South Kingstown, almost like a family place. So, we were early, it was 6 to 8 for her band, and we stayed a couple hours later, but I would just recommend it 110%. It was just a wonderful event.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak from the public? Okay, please come up and just state your name.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Garber, and I want to thank the council for their support. I'm a member of the board of Pump House Music Works, and it's been a tremendous joy to be affiliated with them for now just over a year. And just also want to say that it's been a fabulous addition to the town, and the events, as you've heard, have been uniformly well received, and I've participated in many of them. Also have a band that plays, so come hear us. And it's just been a tremendous center, and we have this phrase that I want to repeat, which is sort of the mission of Pump House Music Works and Shady Lee Guitars, not just building these instruments, which are wonderful, or putting on these events, but building a community, essentially one instrument at a time. And I would just hope that this additional brick in this edifice that we're putting together there will help this be a tremendous success. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the council. My name is Stephen Burke. I'm the person who wrote the glowing recommendation, and I won't add to the generalities that I put in that recommendation tonight. I want to spend just a second talking to you about something that happened on Friday night, because I think that the council should know what's going on there and the kind of not magic, but inspirational things that happen at the Pump House. Every Friday after the show, the musicians gather in a circle, and we pass on what we know to each other. We learn things that we didn't know. We learn skills, and we teach skills, and we sing songs. And everyone's welcome, and if you didn't bring an instrument, these guys will give you an instrument. They'll give you a tambourine, or they'll give you a drum, or they'll give you something to bang on. Anybody can come. Last Friday, a young woman who I had never seen before asked the circle if she could sing a song. She asked for House of the Rising Sun by name, by that whole name. Now, that kind of marks you as somebody who doesn't really do this a lot, because nobody who does it a lot would ever call that the House of the Rising Sun. We just call it house. It's like stairway. You never use the whole name of the song. But like I said, everyone's welcome. So we began to play. And Ariel stood next to this young woman to assist in case she needed it, because house can be kind of a difficult song to sing well. It's challenging, and the young lady appeared a little anxious. Now, Ariel herself is a pretty accomplished singer, but after the first line, she quietly stepped back and sat down. And to say that this kid stole the show would be an understatement. She killed it. She raised the roof. She waved the roof around over her head for a couple of times just because she could. And then she put it back down on the building gently enough that nobody even spilled a drink. And when she finally went back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain, you could have heard the applause in the parking lot. And it was only later, It was only later that I found out that this young lady is 13 years old. 13 years old. She goes to Curtis Corner Middle here in South Kingstown. Her talent was a gift that she shared with all of us that night. And all of us who were there are grateful for the experience. But Madam Chairman, think for a moment about what that night was like for her. Shyness overcome, courage rewarded, talent recognized by a whole room full of peers. Great futures begin with an unknowable past. Pump House Music can offer that past to how many young performers? I don't know. They gave her a chance to sing, and she did it beautifully. It's like a garden where young talent can grow and experiment and prosper in a supportive and caring environment, surrounded by other people of like mind. It can be a jewel in South Kingston's crown, Madam Chairman, and I think this council should give it the opportunity, if not for our sakes, then for the sakes of our children. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further questions?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing that, the public hearing is closed. At this point, we don't move to item 13, correct? Yes.
We do. Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we move to item, do we need a motion to move, or can I just go to item 13?
I think the chair can just go to item 13.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going to move then to item 13A on the agenda under new business, which is a resolution affirming or amending the town's liquor license rules and regulations, Section 1. The current number of licenses for each class shall be authorized as indicated below unless changed by a majority vote. And the one that would need to be changed is T, which is legitimate theater license, which we...
You're asking for an amendment to the resolution as currently presented to change T legitimate license from 1 to 2.
Oh, so moved. I would make a motion that we amend the town's liquor license rules and regulations, Section 1, Class T, from 1 to 2.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks like that has passed. Congratulations.
No, whoa, now you got to go back.
Oh, now we have to go back, okay, to
Yes, kidding.
Save your applause.
to item 7B, the application for a Class T legitimate theater liquor license by Pump House Music Works, by Daniel Collins, Director for the Presentation Gallery, Hand Tool Room, in accordance with special use permit that was granted December 21st, 2016 by the Zoning Board of Review. Said license is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the State of Rhode Island Division of Taxation, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, and the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees in arrears to the town, and the correction of any fire code violations.
Madam President, just, I think there was somewhat of an open issue if you wanted to impose any conditions as far as the closing time. It was referenced. You don't have to, but you have that ability. The Class T license itself has time limits in that the liquor can only be sold for an hour before the performance and an hour after the performance. So that's part of the basic license. But if you wanted to impose any other restrictions, you do have that authority.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any concerns about time restrictions or?
The liquor can be served during the performance, obviously, not just before.
Yes, it's from an hour before to an hour after.
And isn't it Rhode Island state law we can't go past 1 o'clock anyways? So, yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with it as is. As long as they're comfortable with it, yeah.
So shall we somebody make a motion with contingency that it is only till 1 o'clock with the regulations regarding theater licenses about the restrictions an hour before and an hour after performances?
I think those conditions are implied, right? Those conditions.
They're there in the law. You don't have to add that.
Okay. Okay.
All you need is a resolution approving the agenda as presented on the agenda this evening.
I'll make a resolution to approve agenda item 7B. Said license is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees and arrears to the town, and correction of any fire code violations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposition, seeing none. Congratulations. Excuse me.
No.
Of course. Okay, moving on to item 8A, a communication dated January 18th, 2017, from Rick Daniels, tendering his resignation from the Library Board of Trustees, effective February 8th, 2017. It's received and on file, and the town council further directs.
I would make a motion that we accept this letter of resignation and send a letter of thanks to Rick.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Going on to D, a communication dated February 3rd from Healthy Places by Design, requesting a public work session on pedestrian and cyclist safety is received, placed on file, and the council further directs.
We discussed in the work session just scheduling a work session with Healthy Places by Design. I believe it's for the
Wednesday for the 22nd.
The 22nd.
6 p.m.
So if Dale or the town manager's office can reach out to them and confirm that that date works for them, I would make a motion that we put this on file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. E, a communication dated February 7th, 2017, from James Torgy, tendering his resignation from the Saugatuck Veterans Memorial Commission. It is received and placed on file, and the town council further directs.
I would make a motion that we accept this letter of resignation. Again, write to James a letter of sincere gratitude for all his work.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. F, a communication dated February 8th, 2017, from Kate Coyne McCoy, Protect Matuna, concerning a town project that we have received, is placed on file, and the town council further directs.
Madam President, may I address the council briefly, please?
Yes, please state your name for the record.
For the record, it's William Landry, Blish and Kavanaugh, 30 Exchange Terrace, Providence, Rhode Island. I had been an attorney for the Ocean Mist for several years, assisting in the seawall effort. I have not represented Protect Matunic, but I have been asked by Kate Coyne McCoy to speak in their behalf. As to the matter before the council now, their interests are aligned, and we thought it would be most efficient and most concise to tell the council why that letter was written and to make the request. The Ocean Mist has repeatedly tried to emphasize that its interests are in protecting the road, the Tunic Beach Road, and the beach, and the Ocean Mist, and the other buildings and homes that comprise the Matunic Beach Road community. At the end of December, we undertook to cooperate with the town's effort to install the sheet pile wall. There were concerns about the impact the pile driving would have on the Ocean Mist and on the road. The engineers got together and determined that the pile driving would be started about 30 feet west of the Ocean Mist, and that the vibration levels would be measured to determine whether they ever exceeded 0.05 inches per second. That was a vibration level that was agreed upon as a level that would threaten the stability of the Ocean Mist. And the town's engineers and contractors were very professional, very cooperative in that undertaking, as were ours. By the end of December, things started to get a little bit complicated, and you know what happened. For reasons that were not foreseeable by anybody, the piles were having difficulty being driven in, impediments in the soil were encountered, piles were driven in a misaligned way, and in some cases perhaps damaged or broken. So we had a situation where about a quarter of this 200-foot wall was really in jeopardy. The first 30 feet couldn't be built in because of the vibration levels that would threaten the ocean mist, and the next 25 feet or so had these misaligned piles that have to be corrected in some way, perhaps being taken out and re-drilled. I'm not sure what the methodology is that's been agreed upon. So there was some delays. I wrote a letter offering some help. That overture was not accepted at that time, and I'm not here to complain about that. We are here to reiterate and offer, in behalf of the Ocean Mist, to have its engineers meet with the council in some type of a work session and the town's engineers to try to discuss how we can help moving forward to get this wall in. Things have gone from bad to much worse since the end of December. At this point, the drilling has to occur at such a high level that our engineers, GZA, Bill Ladd, who's here tonight to confirm this and to either read or provide a short letter to the council about his opinion, that first 30 feet and probably a significant portion of the next 25 feet will not be capable of being built with the wall at vibration levels that would not seriously jeopardize the Ocean Mist, at least the Ocean Mist, and perhaps other businesses and residences in that area. There's something going on called vibration-induced densification. That's doing a lot of damaging things underground. It's causing the road to crack and become depressed in certain areas. It's posing a threat to the water line that I'm sure the council is aware of, and that remedial measures are being discussed to correct. And it's threatening the Ocean Mist in a way that micropiles that support the kitchen will not be capable of dealing with. The micropiles that we agreed could be built are only for the kitchen. The soil disturbance resulting from this intensified vibration and perhaps even more intense hammer driving of the piles, according to our engineers, will destabilize the soil interior to the Ocean Mist. The dance floor is already dropped by a significant portion. A gas line is cracked. Doors are not closing. There's damage that's being identified even with the work occurring at a considerable distance from the Ocean Mist. So we don't expect these issues to be discussed or resolved tonight. They're not on the agenda to be discussed and resolved tonight. But what we do ask is that there be a special session of the council where people are there in a cooperative fashion, not blaming anybody, just trying to come with a solution that holds some chance of having the road protected, the beach protected, and the Ocean Mist and the buildings protected by May, when this project was expected to be completed. And what our professionals are going to be suggesting is not that the sheet pile wall not get built. That's up to the town. Not that the Mary Carpenter's wall not get built, but that the sequence in which they're both built occur in a more cooperative way. That is, that the town go on and complete finishing that wall to the west, not proceed further to the east at this time so as not to threaten the building, not replace the damaged piles at this time so as not to threaten the buildings and the road, but to simultaneously proceed with the construction of the Mary Carpenter's wall in a way that'll fill that gap and some erosion control measures so that that gap that's there right now is not open to water falling into the road the way we experienced in recent severe weather events, that we move the ocean mist over and simultaneously begin to construct the structural supports for the new ocean mist and integrate that and fill in that 30-foot gap and replace the piles that are damaged. This, in the meantime, we can provide some soft erosion control protection in that vulnerable area, fill that gap, and wind up with a solution that protects everybody. And I may not have described the technical aspects of that. Ideally, Bill Ladd from GZA, if you would give him a minute or two, I think would summarize those in a way that would be more meaningful than I have. But my request is that, you know, we meet fairly urgently. When we raised this issue at the end of December, thinking it was going to be a problem that jeopardized of the wall, that was 2.5 months ago. 2.5 months from now is the beginning of May. And if these issues are not addressed soon, I think what's going to happen is that there's still going to be a major portion of that wall that has not been constructed by the time the busy season arrives. There's no parking right now. It could end up being a disaster. And we may not have a perfect solution to it. We think we've got a viable solution to it, and we're looking for a fair opportunity for that to be presented with the experts all present at the same time in the same place, as well as the decision makers. So that's our joint request tonight, for that type of session to be facilitated. And I would ask for the opportunity to Bill Ladd to speak for a minute or two and to give you his letter with respect to the professional technical opinion that firm has arrived at as a result of what's been happening out there over the last 6 months, unless there are any questions of me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Excuse me. As Bill mentioned, I'm William Ladd. I work for GZA Environmental in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm a registered professional civil engineer. I have 30 years of experience and graduate of URI, and also a lifelong resident of South Kingstown. As Bill mentioned, we're retained by Kevin Finnegan on his behalf for the design of the repairs for Mary's Wall that's been permitted and that we'd like to see constructed. We've also been monitoring the construction of the town seawall on his behalf. And during this construction, as Bill relayed, we've developed concerns about the magnitude of the vibrations and the impact of the ground that this wall, walking in close proximity to his building. Basically, the ground's very hard, and it takes a lot of energy to put those piles into the ground. And the vibrations that come from that vibratory hammer that shakes those piles are related to the distance. The magnitude of those are highest the closer you get to it. The data that we've seen so far, we've moved our seismograph around to various distances from the piles, and it looks like that 0.5 inches per second criteria is going to be exceeded at about 30 feet, which was where they started. On the first day of sheet driving, we were already at 0.47, which is just under the threshold there. They moved westward after that point, and as they got further away, the vibration levels at the building dropped, which is good. But the hammer they were using was a larger hammer, which creates more vibrations. And because we're further from the building, we did move our seismograph 30 feet away to see what it would be like there. And we were at that time over that 0.5 inches per second. So the primary concern is not to damage the building. And right now, that 30-foot gap, I think if we close that and try and install the piles in that area, we're going to be getting to the situation where those cracks that we see 10, 20, 30 feet out into the roadway, you swing those around and put those underneath the kitchen of the ocean mist, that's going to relate to settlement of the interior of the structure. The town has proposed to install micropiles to support the building, the western edge of it facing the construction site. But in our opinion, those piles, because they're only on the western edge and not in the interior of the building, are only going to hold up the outside edge, and the interior of that building could still be negatively affected. So I think the rest of the sheet pile wall is pretty much going on, and which is great, because that's a good wall also. But it's our opinion that that 30-foot gap should be temporarily delayed until phase 2, if you would, when Mary's Wall is rebuilt, can protect that portion of the gap, along with some temporary sandbags. And then, as Bill Landry stated, once Kevin proceeds with his building relocation and the experimental erosion control in front of his property, those sheets can then at that time be driven to the full depth in that wall, that small piece that's the gap constructed at that time. And we do believe that Mary Carpenter's Wall, when it's restored, similar to the Matunic Beach Trailer Park Association wall, will provide adequate shore protection for most storms, and with proper maintenance, it can continue to provide that protection for many years. So I don't see this gap as being a major issue as far as shore protection goes. So, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
At this point, how would you proceed?
I would make a motion that we refer this to Steve to coordinate with, oh, I'm sorry, did somebody else want to speak? I don't want to coordinate the work session that you referenced. I know you said during the work session that, you're very open to discussing with all the parties at the table, especially on the staff level.
I have no difficulty with meeting with representatives from the Ocean Mist on any part of the project, with town engineers, the consulting engineers for the town, their consulting engineers, and their attorneys. I want to make it clear that since September of 2015, the discussion has been the movement of the Ocean Mist building off of its existing foundation so that a new foundation can be put in. Since September of 2015, at 3 different meetings, we've been told that within 60 days that application was going to be filed. If that application had been since September and October of 2015, when it was first offered, that building could have been moved, and the 30 feet that we're talking about would not be the issue that it is today. The most important thing for us in terms of working with the Ocean Mist is for them to be able to carry through with the 2 things that they said back in September of 2015 when the town delayed the construction of the sheet pile wall. That is to submit 2 applications to CRMC, one for putting the new piling system in and relocating the building while that piling system is put in place, and secondly, for them to deal with the application necessary for the experimental erosion controls, the burrito bags in front of the Ocean Mist property. A 3rd component came in at the time that the assent was granted by Coastal Resources in 2016, last summer, and that is that there needs to be a documentation on the transition from the Carpenter property to the Ocean Mist property for oceanfront access. If those 3 applications are developed by the Ocean Mist staff in conjunction with working with the town, we have no difficulty with staying off of the first 30 feet until that building is moved and then having that sheet pile installed at that point. The section, the 25 feet that is misaligned, may be reset. Our engineers are looking at that and are working in conjunction with the town staff to determine what steps can be taken. I was not aware that Mr. Ladd would be here to testify tonight as to his professional opinion as to the conditions that exist there, but to my knowledge, we're not seeing that we have exceeded the 0.05 on any consistent basis that have been shown. So I think that we need to work together. I still am looking to work with them, but the problem that the town has is that we need to get on a single piece of paper what each party's responsibilities are with a specific time schedule for its completion. If we had that, I think that we could bring closure to a lot of the issues that are being brought forward. Our contractor has certainly had difficulty with the installation of the sheet pile. The conditions that were there as far as the soil conditions were different than what he had anticipated based on the borings that had been provided. Whether he had the proper equipment to begin the process or whether he needed to bring in additional equipment, means and methods are not something on a construction project that the town would direct or officiate on. So I think that I have no difficulty with getting a meeting scheduled with Mr. Landry, with Mr. Tights. We have several items to review. Other than the ones I've talked about, there's also the question on the ownership of the Carpenter property and a proper purchase and sales agreement, which has been tendered 2 weeks ago to Mr. Landry on behalf of the town council. All of those things can come in a working session with staff and the engineers and the legal representatives, and then with a memorandum of agreement with a time schedule that can be public and provided to the council. I think everyone will know where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. The only objective the town has in dealing in Matunic is the protection of the right-of-way. And we're going to take every step possible to protect that right-of-way. We're certainly not doing it at the expense of the Ocean Mist, but we have to have cooperation to be able to complete the job. And at this point, contact with Mr. Landry's office to set up that meeting with his engineers and whatever other representatives he feels are appropriate with the town staff and our engineers.
Thank you.
Sounds good. So I think my motion was to direct that to the town manager's office to schedule that work session.
Second. So
I want to make sure we're talking about a work session at the staff level, not at the council level.
Correct.
Right.
And you'll keep us in the loop.
And you have a second discussion?
Well, yeah, it was just to clarify that point. So do you think there's any value in having a work session where town council members are present with all these engineers?
I think there'd be great value to it once a document was prepared as to a schedule and milestones for completion. At that point, the council may have questions. It would be an appropriate time. But prior to the time that there's commitments made, I don't see that as a workable solution.
Steve, you mentioned taking minutes too, right, at these meetings so that we could review them and see, you know.
I mean, I've provided the council with minutes of each of the meetings that I've had with representatives of the Ocean Mist, and that's why I was referencing those today.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was reported in the newspaper back in 2015 that we had held off the construction in the fall of 2015 because we were anticipating that the building was going to be relocated so that we would be able to do the sheet pile without concern with the foundation of the Ocean Mist. That never occurred. And in 2016, it was also promised again. And at the end of 2016, what we had was a situation still had to stop the construction, and we couldn't wait any longer for that building to be relocated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mr. Landry, I think we do have a motion, so I don't know how much give and take there is allowed at this point, but I would say...
I have one brief thing to say, because I think we want this to be accurate, okay? My client has been begging to begin the construction of Mary's Wall. That can't happen until there's a conveyance to acquire the property. We were promised a purchase and sale agreement in October. It came 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. We've provided our comments. We have to control the land in order to build the wall. took 4 months for a purchase and sale agreement to come, and the sales agreement has some poison pills in it that don't indicate that anyone really wants it executed. So I can't, in good conscience, sit and listen to some suggestion that we're dragging our feet. That has always been the first critical path item to get the sales agreement and be able to control the beach and take over the town's responsibilities for replenishing the sand in that beach. We have the agreement, we've provided our comments, and we're ready, willing, and able to roll up our sleeves and get this done. I'm not looking backwards. I didn't say anything about 4 months for the sales agreement to come until someone suggested we were dragging our feet. I'm interested in moving forward and getting a solution on the table. That's all my client wants. Thank you.
I think everybody's on this.
100% accurate. The comments were delivered at 5:05 to the attorney this evening.
So I think there's general agreement that all the parties want to get together, develop some plans to move forward here. Hopefully that will allow for the building to be moved at the same time, that those final 30 feet can be put in place. It sounded to me like Steve was saying we're not going to move on those final 30 feet until this is worked out. So hopefully that can happen soon, and then we can have the work session. I mean, if it happens over the course of this week, maybe we can even combine it into that work session that we're having next week. So I just want to ask everybody to get together at this point.
I mean, I think that was clear to me, Steve, that you have no problem waiting on those 30 feet if we come to an agreement on a really solid timeline and certain, milestones, if you will, get hit. So it sounds like we all want the same thing. We want those last 30 feet to not happen until we're sure that it's the best way for the road, for the town, and for the ocean mist, correct? I mean, that's how I interpret that.
So at this point, we have a motion that you had made. Do we have a second?
Can I just add one thing? Can we set a time frame?
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I think that would be, since it's Steve, he would have to get in touch with all the parties and the engineers on both sides and the people from the ocean mist.
I just think we could pick like a reasonable time because we'll
Updates as I have the meetings. I'm not sure we'll complete everything in one sit-down. But I'll keep you advised.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no oppositions, we can move forward to item number 9, comments from interested citizens.
actually, can we go back to 6B real quick? Make sure that they're not here.
Oh, the license? Is there anybody here from
The race, the State Rhode Island event in South Kingstown? Is anybody here to speak to that? No. That will bring it up again at the end. Which leads us to item number 9, comments from interested citizens. At this time, it's your opportunity to come up to the podium and state your name and talk about any issues you would like to address before the council or the town. And if there are numerous people that do want to speak, we usually have a 5-minute time frame, but if there are many people, we'll have to start limiting it to 3 minutes per person. But please speak.
Hi, my name is John Rose. I live in Kingston. I actually should have been home just sitting by my wood stove tonight, but I felt compelled to come because I noticed that we have another school committee member that has resigned and a possible replacement. I was here 2 or 3 weeks ago in support of Scott Miller, and I'm here again in support of Scott. I think he's got a lot of years of experience, has a passion for helping children and making sure that the town is well served. He's served 24 years on the school committee, has a tremendous amount of experience. I think he'd be the right person for that spot. And I'll leave you this analogy. If I was in a car going down the road, an icy road, I'd rather have somebody with experience behind the wheel than somebody that doesn't. Scott would be a good choice.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience would like to speak? Now is the time.
Hello, Tara Apperson, 20 Allen Ave. I find it unfortunate that we're facing this problem again just a few short weeks later. I don't envy the position that you're in. I know that this is a difficult decision again. But I wanted to talk to you tonight about the choice in candidates you have before you. Specifically, I'm asking that you not consider Kevin Jackson. I do not mean this as a personal attack at all, and I'm grateful for his service and his willingness to serve. I know it's a huge commitment. However, when I heard that Mr. Jackson had put his hat in the ring, I immediately thought back to the candidate forum that was held on October 13th. There were several of Mr. Jackson's responses from that meeting that did not resonate with me, but one in particular stood out. So I went back today and I listened to the forum to refresh my memory. Mr. Jackson was responding to a question about the role testing plays in our schools. His response basically stated that testing is a part of life and our students need to become accustomed to this way of life. I quote, "That's what they're doing, and I think we need to prepare our kids for that type of anxiety." He used an analogy of coaching children who are nervous to pitch a baseball, saying that the more they do it, the less anxious they will become. I wholeheartedly disagree with applying this to education. We do not need to test our children into submission. We do not need to accept the testing culture or any issue as a status quo, a box that we need to fit our children into. We need a candidate who will question things that aren't working well or that are new, whether it be testing or technology or where budget cuts come from. My vision for my son, a second grader at Wakefield Elementary, is not to test him over and over again until he overcomes his anxiety. It's for his teachers to help him develop a love of learning that I feel like we're slowly losing as a national trend. While in reality, Mr. Jackson may not have a lot of control over school testing as a school committee leader, he would have the ability to question the status quo. It does not seem like this is the type of candidate he is, though, and so I ask that you not appoint him tonight, or if you decide to continue tonight, the next time you decide who you're going to appoint. I would also like to remind you that he was the lowest vote getter in the past election. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Maury Martin, South Kingstown. I will also say how unfortunate it is that we're here again with the same problem of vacancy on the school committee. Such an important place, such an important committee that needs to move forward so quickly. I already spoke last month at the meeting in support of Scott Muller, so I won't go through that same testimony again. And I've sent communication to you, all of you, from by email. But I do want to tell a little story that I know I've been to this podium for over the years and told that, you know, I have 4 grown children who all went to South Kingstown, through the South Kingstown school system. And one of them was just a little baby. We bought our first starter home in Rolling Acres. And then we had a couple more kids, and so we had to expand, and we built a new house, and then a couple of kids left, and we bought a smaller house. So, you know, I've kind of bought and sold here in South Kingstown. And I'll tell you what the number one important issue to people when they were purchasing our little family and big family homes was the school system, and that's what brought them to South Kingstown looking for a home, or that's what had them moving around within South Kingstown. And I just want to say that for most of the time that we were buying and selling, my family was growing. Scott Muller was on that school committee, and he's part of the machine that has made South Kingstown such a great school district. And I think you really ought to consider that in your decision-making tonight. Thank you.
there's a race here. Hi, I'm Sarah Markey. I'm a parent here in South Kingstown, and I live in Wakefield. And I am so invested in this school district. I have a student who goes to Broad Rock, and then I also have a son who in a year and a half will be in kindergarten. And I'm also a proud taxpayer. I feel like we pay taxes here in South Kingstown, for much of which goes to an amazing school district. And so I'm here tonight because I wanted to express my support also for Scott Mueller, whose name I can never pronounce, but I think he's great. I think that, you know, we really need on our school committee his experience and his knowledge. I think he has this ability to be a stabilizing force for our district, which is really important for the future and ensuring that we have great schools. And I heard recently that he's on the board of the National School Boards Association, which given what's happening at the federal level and the changes that may happen there, especially with the new education, I feel like that experience and that role that Scott plays could have an amazing impact on our district. I mean, what an asset. And so again, I just hope that when you fill that vacancy that you'll fill it with Scott. Thanks.
I believe this is going to come on the agenda later, so I will defer to that in the interview process if you want.
Actually, you can speak now because we are not holding formal interviews tonight, and your application was put in, and we're all very familiar with you, but for the sake of the people that are in the audience, I'd like you to speak.
Okay. I'm Kevin Jackson. Long, complicated subject, but I obviously will address the issue that just came up now. Forums are a great avenue to get a taste of education, but it's difficult to answer in 1 minute. And I do remember that question, and the context was a little more deep than that. There's an educational model, mostly defined as the Finland model when it comes to testing. My full answer to that last night was define how much testing. You know, presently, many professional licenses require a test. Real estate must pass a test. Hairdresser must pass a test. Not to mention engineering, things of that nature. The medical and technology field, licensed, must pass a test. The Finland model has it where there's no testing up until roughly 10th grade, 11th grade. There's some age requirements. So the idea is nobody tests, and then the one little detail that's left out is they take a high-stakes test. The students take the test, and they determine where they're going. Germany has a similar model. My context that night was to eliminate all time puts a student, in my opinion, at a disadvantage. And I did use the baseball analogy. If you've ever coached a team or worked with young students, if you put them in an environment where they've never done it before or never had to deal with that sequence. I know, Madam President, your son played baseball for quite a while, and I'm sure it's a process. And that was my point. And I found many of the younger students who would feel more comfortable, and that was my point. I do believe on a national level, we have had too much testing. There's a lot of moving parts to that. To the speaker's point, most of it's not being driven by the local school board levels. It's being driven at the state level and at the federal level. You know, there was race to the top, no child left behind, and those edicts are put on top of us. I'm proud of my time in the school committee. You know, I came on board in 2006. It was probably the most difficult time in our district at those times. We closed South Road School in a matter of about 11 weeks. Wheels up to wheels down. The then superintendent walked in, handed out letters to everybody, and roughly 10, 12 weeks later, the school was closed. To give you context of how long I've been involved in this, my son was in the first grade at South Road at the time. My daughter was in kindergarten. Callie graduates in June. She was in kindergarten. So there is a context to this. We face tremendous challenges right in front of us. We have a declining enrollment, roughly 1,000 students. Again, to give some context, it's about the size of the high school. That's how many students we've lost. We face a continuing challenge from a funding formula standpoint. Won't get into the details, but we've had a state funding cut. Roughly since 2010, $2 million have been cut from the South Kingstown and state money. I feel with my background in business, but more importantly, my passion for education, I bring it to the school committee. Many school committee members tend to be education driven. I am not. I am not an educator. I am not a teacher, but I'm a pretty good learner. And I think I bring that value. Additionally, we've lost 7 people in the school committee in the last 10 years, at least 7. I did a quick count this morning. It may be longer. We've lost 2 in the last 6-8 weeks, okay? So I think me putting my name in and not even doing an interview, I think that was important tonight because we never know what the future will bring. I've been passionate about education. It's not an easy subject. And to my critics and to my supporters, and I have more than a few supporters, as I'm sure you know, I have a really bad habit as a politician. I tend to answer the question people ask me, and I give them the best answer I can. I do not dodge issues. I give them the best answer I can. I actually find that rewarding from a standpoint. Most of my people I've dealt with over the years, they know where I stand. And I think that is the job as a local politician, as a local person. When you talk to somebody and you say, this is why I did it, and this is why, and this is answering their question of why I did something. They may not agree with you, but they know where you stand. And I always give a clear answer. And I think that's a value. And I'll answer any questions if anybody has any direct questions.
This is just a process question. Are questions allowed under comments from interested citizens?
Yes, you can have a dialogue back and forth. It's not your usual thing, but under the Open Meetings Act, it is allowed.
I have a question then.
Sure.
How do you feel about the current school committee budget that just got approved?
I believe that is being voted on tomorrow night, so I don't think it's been approved. Usually the 14th we vote on that. We've had vote in that past. Correct me if I'm wrong. Usually that vote is on the 14th.
I believe that they haven't voted yet.
It's the preliminary budget that was presented at the last meeting then.
That was the pro forma budget.
Right.
I think we have to wait till they approve the budget. The budget is a long process. For me to come, this is again to my honest answer. For me to come to a microphone, not having been in every meeting and all those times, and to make any particular statement on any one budget. Sure. Now, I can speak to what I said earlier, that we've got issues. We've got building issues. We basically doubled the size of our buildings in 10 years and built Broad Rock, and then almost immediately after, started declining enrollment. And we can talk about why and what happened, and it's a different subject. We've got some issues coming. To me, it'll make what we went through in South Road look like a walk in the park. Let me tell you, I know Mr. Alfred was around then. I'm trying to remember who else. The South Road issue, there were fights, fist fights, outside the high school auditorium in 2006, and I was there. We must come together as a group. I saw the last session where the town council had a difficult time coming to conclusion. I'm just trying to be the best person I can, offer a different perspective, and try to find a way to find an answer, which is going to be reconfiguration issues, which I actually have some ideas on that would not close an elementary school. Like I said, I am not a teacher. I am not an educator. I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman my whole career. I'm a product of public education. Both my kids have matriculated through these schools. I'm passionate about public education. I think I bring a different voice. That's all. It's nothing against Mr. Miller. It's nothing against anybody else who's run. In fact, I've learned a lot from different perspectives.
Do you have any thoughts on how the schools might be able to address the gaps between our special ed kids, our impoverished population? They've been growing, as you know.
The councilman brings up excellent points. 10 years ago, our poverty rates were under 5, 6, 7%. Presently, our poverty rates are 20%. So again, context, real numbers. Go walk through any school in our schools. 1 of every 5 kids is living in poverty. 1 out of 5. It creates a whole host of problems. We have worked hard at gap closing. We have not done a good enough job. We're better than we were, but we have not done a good enough job in gap closing. I actually have done a lot of work in the poverty area. It's not something I talk about a lot. I have an adopted son from Guatemala. I have a minority Hispanic person in South Kingstown. It hasn't been that easy to do more with gap closing. This is, again, where I tend to have a different view. I'm not a school committee member, just an educator. So from a business tackling standpoint, try to find things that have worked well and copy those models. There are ways to do that. I would like to see us work more with URI in particular. We have done some work with other schools. Gap closing is a major issue, and many of these kids are coming to school with living in poverty, meals. I was the one in 2006, again, going back years. We actually introduced a breakfast program. With the theory being in the middle school, we had a lot of kids who did not have proper breakfast, and we offered it to all kids as a way to try to not stigmatize those types of things. Maybe we can look at those programs again, I'm not sure.
And I think you're right that facilities is one of the issues that we need to address. That solves our budget problems entirely. I'd really like to hear some more innovative ideas coming from the school committee, potentially looking at new revenue streams, or combining services with neighboring districts. I think we need to start thinking out of the box, and I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I agree. That goes back years too. We did partner with Narragansett when it comes to our cafeteria, and we do share that program. There are out-of-the-box ideas. This is getting into the nuances of kind of running a budget. The school budget's $60 million. It's the largest portion of your budget. It has the most employees. There's definitely some moving parts there. The one thing that's a little unique about public dollars versus private dollars is the revenues are relatively predictable. I say relatively because, the state can cut us, and that did happen one year. Compared to Mr. Veal's business, or my business, where I can lose a project or an order and be down 25%. That generally doesn't happen. I would like to see us look at a 3 to 5 year plan that's inclusive of the trends. We have a pretty good feel on what's been going down with the declining enrollment, and look to the facilities and see how we can make that work. That may mean cording off half of Peacedale and maybe spending less money. Personally, I think it has to look more at the upper school levels. I have been an advocate for years not to close the elementary schools. I think we have consensus that the neighborhood elementary schools are what people want in town. So that could be an avenue. We are efficient. The last time we did a big efficiency move, you said about thinking outside of the box. We're the only district in the state that has all the kids in the same building from the 5th grade to the 12th grade. That does create some efficiencies because the kids come in nice, neat packages, a little better neat packages, as opposed to having too many kids in Matunic and not enough at, say, Wakefield and getting some efficiencies. So we did do that. We did try that. But it's a buildings question and it's a facilities question. And it's got to be a 3 to 5 year. And unfortunately, as you guys know, the budget process, and Steve has called it a process for years, it starts in December-ish time frame, and there's dates to hit. I knew February 14th for all those years because we used to jokingly say the St. Valentine's Day Massacre is when we passed our budget. That's, so I knew that date off the top of my head. But there's a process you have to go through, and somehow as a community, town council and school committee and the public have to sit down and what's going to look like in 3 to 5 years and try to figure out, these are our revenues, these are our pro-commute students, this is what the town wants when it comes to buildings. How do we come together and make that work?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to keep it brief and short since all a lot to think about.
Could you please just state?
Sure. I'm Brian Klezak, and I'm looking to be on the on the school committee. I'm here for the kids, our children, not for the big dollar. I want to cut those top heavies and let those little kids learn the way they should be learning. So please consider me, and I promise you I will roll up my sleeves and I will work very hard for this town. I always have, and I always will. Thank you.
I just have a quick question for you, Brian. I don't know if you can be considered unless you submitted your name by last Wednesday.
I did.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
It can be about other matters than the school committee if you want at this point.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on for Steve, the town manager's report.
Nothing outside of the items that we talked about in the pre-session. Council has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I think we've already talked about next week. There will be a meeting scheduled for the 22nd. And subjects there would be with Healthy Places request and also the request from Marijuana Regulate Rhode Island. So we'll have both of those scheduled. They'll begin at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you. Town solicitor's report. Andy?
I don't have anything new to add unless you have any questions.
Nope. We'll move on to item number 12. For to boards or committee commissions.
Under 12A, I make a resolution to appoint Anthony Silbert, Hannah Marini, Angela Tuoni, Christopher Hubbard, and James Norman to the Sustainability Committee. Yeah. That is Anthony Silbert, Hannah Marini, Angela Tuoni, Christopher Hubbard, and James Norman.
Any further discussion?
We need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item 12B, a resolution appointing any one of the candidates to the school committee for the interim term to expire November 2018. Do I have any nominations from the table?
I nominate Scott Miller to the school committee.
Any further nominations?
I nominate Andrew Gilmartin to the school committee.
Any further? Okay, we'll start with a nomination for Scott Mueller. All those who, I know Scott, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with pronouncing your name. It's all those in favor for Scott?
Is there any discussion or no?
Oh, yeah, we have, sure, if there's any further discussion.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rush you.
No, go right ahead. If there's any further discussion or any further nominations.
I can support Andrew Gilmartin for a couple of reasons. I think Andrew will bring a fresh perspective to the school committee. It's not a big secret that I have some real issues with our educational system and some of the reasons that I think we're in the place that we are the incumbents, and frankly, two of the candidates tonight are longtime incumbents. Certainly the performance in our system and the cost per pupil are concerns for me. And I think, again, not to harp on the negative side of it, but I think some of the incumbents are a reason we're where we are today, and I would consider that Andrew would be a fresh set of eyes on things.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I tend to agree with Joe on a couple of those points. I think that we saw in the last election a lot of independents get on the school committee, and I think that was a clear indication from our constituents that they wanted to see some independent views represented. So I think Andrew would bring that to the table. I think saying that any of the people who stepped forward and volunteered for the position tonight would be excellent on the school committee. I don't think that we're going to be in a deficit because of their addition. It's my own personal opinion. I will say I was so disappointed that we had another vacancy. I think that somebody alluded a few meetings ago to what a time commitment this is on the school committee. And I mean, we see it. We have a lot of meetings, but the school committee sees it on a completely different level. And for this particular appointment, the jockeying from the community and the comments and the emails and the calls, I wonder if people truly appreciate what this job entails. And I hope that everyone who stepped forward tonight and whoever gets the position recognizes that it's not something that you're supposed to use for power, but we choose to serve. Nobody makes you run for office or step up to this position. And you should only be using it to serve your constituents. So I hope that anybody who gets appointed tonight will remember that and take that role seriously and fulfill their term with the best interests of our students, our educators, and our community in mind.
And I just want to add, I may have said this the last time, I think one of the hardest things for us sitting here at the table is that we are a decision for good people who have all volunteered to step up to the plate. They give and want to support our students, our administration, our faculty, and the people of this town. And it's unfortunate that we can't have everybody, be appointed. And that's the most difficult part for me personally, because when there's so many times you don't get people who really want to volunteer. But for the sake of the town, when you get very credible and very competent people that have a great passion for our schools, really want to do this job, it's hard because some people will walk out of this room, unfortunately, upset that they weren't appointed. One person will be happy. And that's what makes our job very, very difficult.
I'd like to add to this, a lot of difficult decisions are on the horizon, so I give a lot of credit to the folks that stepped up to the plate. I can speak that I've spoken to, I think, pretty much everyone that has shown interest in the position. Kevin, I think you'd have to sit down with him, and I've worked with him before on a few things, and he's very passionate and very methodical in his thinking and has a lot of data, as you could see by the numbers that he rolled off during his public comment section. Scott brings a lot of experience, has been around for a long time, and I did have the pleasure of speaking to him for a good period of time and learning more about him personally and the history that he brings to the school committee. I can appreciate Joe's comments in regards to the fact that he sees it as, part of the problem. But I do feel strongly that we have a number of good candidates. Mr. Gold-Martin, very good candidate. My issue there is there are just things that we don't see eye to eye on in terms of where he wants to see things go and where I think the school committee should go. And also Brian, I give you a lot of credit for putting your hat in the ring again. And like I said, everyone I think has what's best in their hearts for the town. Unfortunately, we can only choose one person.
Any further discussion?
Sure. I mean, in a lot of ways, we've gone over this before, so I'm not going to belabor a lot of things that I said the last time we were going over this decision. I nominated Scott because I think he's the right person for the right challenges, or the wrong challenges that we're facing right now. I think we heard from the community a lot of support from teachers. We're going through negotiations right now. That's really the bulk of the school budget, as we all know. So we need somebody who's going to have a good working relationship with the teachers heading into those negotiations. So I wish, I hope that he makes it here, and then he can help that process move forward. I think that'll be the best for the town.
Well, as of right now, we have 2 nominations on the table. Is there any further nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to call, as Scott Mueller was nominated first. All those in favor of Scott, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Nay. Right now, we have 3-2. Do we have to move forward to Andrew Gilmartin? Okay, at this point, it's done. Scott, congratulations, and welcome back to the school committee.
Good luck.
Okay, moving forward to item
Hold on.
13.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I would make a resolution that we appoint Judy Munson to the Saugatucket Memorial, I want to make sure I get the Veterans Memorial Park Commission for a term to expire 2020.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Seeing no oppositions, we'll move to item 13C, a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Tasker Ford, 200.
Sorry, before we move on from appointments, I saw that we had a resignation from our Library Board of Trustees, which we accepted earlier. And I know that we had a lot of people apply for the Library Board of Trustees not so long ago. Maybe we could send out inquiries into whether those people are still interested in the position. They are no longer listed on our. God, it's already been a year. Okay.
If your question is, are they still interested, we could determine who the folks were that were interviewed that weren't appointed by the council and ask them if they're interested, and they could renew their application with us. But under your existing policy, after a year, it expires.
Okay. Yeah, if we could make those inquiries, that would be good.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, 13C, a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Tasker Ford for 5 2017 Ford Utility Police Interceptor vehicles and 1 Ford Taurus administrative vehicle in a total amount not to exceed $186,133, including equipment transfer and as further described in the memorandum from the interim police chief to the town manager dated February 2nd.
As indicated in the memorandum from Chief Jaber, we had 5 bidders, which is great because normally we've been seeing 1 or 2. Recommendation is to go with the lowest qualified, which is Tasker Ford out of Berlin, Connecticut. It is important to note that we're talking about purchasing 6 vehicles, and we're retiring 4. 1 was destroyed, which would be the 5th, and the 6th is being held because it's used for the patrols that are working on traffic detail. To give you an idea, last year traffic details generated over about $125,000 in fees. So we need to have the vehicles available, not just for billing purposes, but for the protection of the officers that are assigned. I'd recommend that you approve as presented in that memorandum of February 2nd.
Motion to approve agenda item 13C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, we'll move on to F, a resolution adopting the town council's goals and objectives for the 2016 through 2018 term, and as shown in Exhibit 1.
Motion to approve item 13F as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Moving on to G, a resolution
I'm sorry, was there somebody that was going to, I can't see past the podium. Was there someone that was going to speak from Healthy Places by Design about that? Or I think they might have left, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing them. No. Okay.
You can talk to them at the work session.
Karina's here. Sorry, I just didn't want to skip past it without giving them a chance. After waiting through that whole meeting.
I'm not from Healthy Places by Design, but I support them, and I support their goals and objectives, and I hope that you've adequately addressed
Can you please
them.
just state your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Karina Burston. I live in Wakefield. I did want to just comment on the fact that it's a very nice document, and it's strongly worded, with the exception of the cultural resources, which has one single goal, which is not to expand measures or to do anything substantive. It's to consider expansion of measures available, and the objectives underneath are, I think, a little anemic and not very carefully thought out. There are lots of grants that are available besides state funding for historic resource inventory, and there are lots of other grants that are available not just for historic inventory, but for cultural resources as well, including things like the Pettiquamscut Historical Society, the historic cemeteries. There are all kinds of available things, and I think that it's a pity that the town council has not considered this section more thoroughly. That's just a...
I think I'd like to just point out that the goals and objectives, the 2 times that I've been involved in them, are not as challenging as I thought they would be when you consider that you have to satisfy 5 very different people to be able to say, yeah, I can get behind that. And so while you think maybe something has fallen through the cracks, that potentially has happened, but it's more likely that I shouldn't say nobody pushed hard, somebody was pushing hard somewhere else. Right. It's a document that has to satisfy a lot of people to get behind.
It does indeed, and it's an extensive document, and it makes your job very difficult because for the next year you have many, many goals and objectives and a variety of different
and many
work sessions. But I would like to encourage the town council in the future to pay closer attention to that particular piece, to that particular goal, because it does get a lot of public support in the comprehensive plan, a lot more than it's afforded here in the goals that are presented. So, thank you.
Thank you.
It will be well taken. Thank you. Moving on to item 13G, resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract originally granted in March of 2016 to Atlas Pyrovision Entertainment Group for the 2017 4th of July fireworks display in an amount, in accordance with all bidding specifications, in an amount not to exceed $18,250, and as further described in a memorandum from the Director of Leisure Services on February 7th.
Again, as I mentioned in the pre-session, the town establishes the value of the show. So the value of the show is set at $18,250. Bidders are then asked to supply a list of shell sizes that would be used as part of the display. In this case, we received only 1 bid. However, fortunately, it is the bidder that we have seen 20 of the last 21 years that has been responsible for some excellent shows for the community. I would have liked to have seen more than 1 bid, just so that we could compare the size of the program that was being offered. However, we've certainly never been dissatisfied with the quality of the show that's been put on by Atlas Pyrovision. So I recommend Councilor Ward as presented in Terry's memo of February 7th.
I would make a motion, we approve item 13G, and since it's my very favorite holiday, it gives me great pleasure to make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, before we make a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn, I'd like to go back to item 6B to see if anybody is here to represent the Race for the State of Rhode Island event.
Nuka Sports Event Manager.
Oh,
Make a motion, we continue that item to the next meeting.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Joe likes to stay late. And we can turn.